Ray Brown's Talkin' Birds.
Made possible by the generous support of the Birdwatchers General Store, Orleans, Cape Cod. Birdwatchersgeneralstore.com.
By Vortex Optics with the VIP warranty. Their unlimited lifetime promise to keep you and your optic covered. Learn more at vortexoptics.com.
And Beautio Books, an independent, family-owned bookstore carrying one of the largest selections of birding books in the world. BeautyBooks.com.
By LL Bean, inspiring you to get outdoors. LLbean.com. By Birds and Beans shade-grown, bird-friendly coffee. Birdsandbeans.com.
And by Ocean State Bird Club. Springtime is every birder's favorite time of year. Join Ocean State Bird Club for new online talks and weekly virtual hangouts. And enjoy our quarterly newsletter with stories and photos about birds and birding. OceanStateBirdClub.org and on Facebook, Ocean State Bird Club.
Good morning. Welcome to our show number 833. And what's this? It's TSOP, the sound of Philadelphia. Well, a few weeks ago, we offered a conservation salute to the city of Philadelphia for joining the Lights Out program, in which cities all over the country are dimming the lights in tall buildings during spring and fall bird migration in an effort to prevent bird fatalities. Well, that's getting another mention here today, because CNN has picked up that story and is providing some extra recognition and publicity about this successful effort to get building owners and managers in Philly to turn off the lights in their buildings to help prevent bird crashes. So thanks to CNN for giving some coverage to a very fine effort. Meanwhile, closer to home in our Talkin' Birds garden, right behind our studios here in the South Shore of Massachusetts, we've confirmed that we have tree swallows nesting again this year. That's pretty cool. And we see eastern bluebirds checking out a box out there as well. Common ravens are back up on the tower. We think we can see a nest way up there. We'll be trying to spot that after today's show. And we also heard this morning a Carolina wren sounding off in that really loud way right outside our studios this morning. Meanwhile, there's this bird. That's a lot more quiet than a Carolina wren. That's our mystery bird. This is a little preview of our mystery bird contest, which is coming along a little bit later on in this morning's show. But here are some clues and info to get you ready for that contest. Our bird is a very small songbird with pale gray cheeks and white and black striping all over its head and body, and a black eye line. Our bird, which winters in the tropics and breeds across Canada and most of the U.S., as far west as Montana, creeps along the branches and trunks of trees, kind of like a nuthatch, probing with its thin bill for insects and spiders. I guess I gave away that it's not a nuthatch there, but that's all right. That's our mystery bird. Prizes include the Droll Yankees Cute Chickadee Feeder that lets you manage the size of visiting birds, perfect for sunflower seed, mixed seed, fruit, or mealworms. And a bonus prize, our favorite coffee, because it's delicious and it also helps preserve habitat for wintering birds in the tropics. It's Birds and Beans, bird-friendly, shade-grown coffee. Our bonus prize on the Mystery Bird contest coming along on this morning's show a little bit later.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
Some of the stories and videos on our TalkinBirds.com website and our Facebook page right now. Kent, Ohio is building a chimney for chimney swifts, and we'll link you to a story about it. Meanwhile, we just heard from composer Dave Shiflett, who has written a beautiful piece called Swifts in the Chimney. And we can connect you to that on our Facebook page right now as well. Meanwhile, up in Maine, the state of Maine has created an international dark sky park. That's pretty cool. We have a link to that story. And our man Mike O'Connor explains where wild turkeys build their nests and why they are so hard to find. Some of the stories there on our talkinbirds.com website and our Facebook page right now. And speaking of Facebook, don't forget to check out the Talkin' Birds Flock, where listeners gather to share thoughts and observations, pictures and videos. Pretty close to 300 folks in our flock now. You can find it at facebook.com and just type in Talkin' Birds Flock in the search bar there. Here's our conservation salute of the week. It goes to the state of Washington, where they have enacted America's newest and strongest ban on polystyrene. Most folks call it styrofoam. Whatever you call it, it's one of the worst forms of potential plastic pollution out there, taking hundreds of years to fully degrade. Here's what they've done in Washington, following the lead of New Jersey and Virginia. One is they banned polystyrene packing peanuts, coolers, and foodware, like takeout containers and foam cups. Secondly, they've required businesses to provide single-use utensils, cups, lids, and other foodware only when requested. And third, required that all plastic trash bags, beverage bottles, household cleaning bottles, personal care product bottles, and other plastic items be made with a specified amount of recycled material. So some good stuff there. Long way to go, but a good start. And so our conservation salute to the great state of Washington. And here's a royal salute to our new Talkin' Birds ambassadors, or newly welcomed to the show officially here, including Barbara Page from Wakefield, Rhode Island. Thank you so much, Barbara. And thank you to Cindy Boyd from Gainesville, Florida. She says she just discovered our show and has been binge listening. She says it's informative and fun. Thank you so much, Cindy. Thank you to Karen V. from Oroville, California. She says, I'm the Lands and Sanctuary Board member for Alta Cal Audubon in Chico, California. Alta Cal, I think, is a closer pronunciation. She says, my spark bird was a scrub jay when I was 3, and my granny gave me a golden guide at that age, too. My nemesis birds are usually the super common ones like pine siskins. She says, I love any and all bird walks. Thank you so much, Karen. And thank you to another Karen with a different spelling. This is Karen Rhodes from Marblehead, Massachusetts. And she says that her nephew, Ryan, has his actual birthday today. So we're welcoming Karen, especially on this day. And his big brother, Pete, has his birthday in 2 weeks also. Can you throw in a greeting to him as well? Indeed, we can. Happy birthday, Ryan, and happy early birthday to you, Pete. And I'm to tell them it's time for the walkabout in the fields. So you're on notice there, Ryan and Pete. And there's a little surprise, I understand, but I have to keep quiet about that. Also, please give a tip of the cap to the Essex County Ornithological Club, of which I am a life member, says Karen. And yes, she says, I'm having fun handing out my ambassador cards. That is great. And hello to all the folks at the Essex County Ornithological Club. So, Talkin' Birds listeners, we hope you'll become an ambassador like Karen and Cindy and Barbara. Easy to do. Just go to talkinbirds.com and click on the Get Involved tab right there at the top of the homepage. Still to come on our show today, we'll zoom up to Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada, to talk with Josh Levac, who is the senior bird bander at the McKellar Island Bird Observatory up there on the northwestern shore of Lake Superior. Plus, we'll catch up with Mike O'Connor on Cape Cod for Let's Ask Mike segment, almost live from the archive, about tree swallows. And up next, we'll travel farther than we've ever gone before to find a featured feathered friend. Presented by Birdwatching Magazine. For more than a quarter century, Birdwatching has been North America's premier magazine about wild birds and birding. Our featured feathered friends are almost always North American species, but we figured we should expand our horizons a bit, and we're doing that today as we present, direct from Australia, the most Instagrammable bird on the planet. That designation, according to the folks at livescience.com, doesn't mean that this bird appears more often on Instagram than any other bird. In fact, it doesn't show up there very often at all. But when it does, say the Live Science folks, it draws more likes than any other species, based on the number of users likely to have seen its photos. It's the Instagrammable and unforgettable tawny frogmouth. The tawny frogmouth looks kind of like an owl and is often mistaken for one. It's stocky, large-headed, and nocturnal. It's about 13 to 21 inches long, with rounded wings, short legs, and a wide, heavy olive gray to blackish bill that's hooked at the tip and topped with distinctive tufts of bristles. The eyes are large and yellow, like those of diurnal owls, but they're not forward-facing as owls' eyes are. Tawny frogmouths are related to owls, but their closest relatives are the oilbirds and potoos, and the nightjars, like the common nighthawk, the whippoorwill, and the common parake that we know here in North America. These frogmouths feed mostly by dropping down from a tree branch or other elevated perch to take large insects or small vertebrates on the ground, with some smaller prey, like moths, caught in flight. And they're considered to be among Australia's most effective pest control birds around houses and farms. By day, tawny frogmouths perch low on tree branches using their superb camouflage colors of silvery gray, black, and brown to make themselves nearly invisible as they freeze like the end of a broken branch against the bark of a tree. The bird makes a number of sounds, including this soft, repetitious call, often heard throughout the night. By the way, quite by coincidence, our own awesome Aussie, Freya McGregor, reports that her folks back home just spotted a tawny frogmouth perched on a telephone wire right across the road from their home in Melbourne, Australia, a few days ago. A bird that's popular for its pest control and well-liked everywhere on Instagram. It's Podargus strigoides, the tawny frogmouth, today's Talkin' Birds featured feathered friend. Welcome again to our show, number 833. Well, we're told that bird banding, for various purposes, has been going on since the Punic Wars in 200 BC, with its first scientific use recorded in the 17th century, and then famously used by John James Audubon in the early 19th century, when he tied colored thread to the legs of an eastern phoebe to track its movements. And bird banding is still going on in a big way in lots of places, including at the McKellar Island Bird Observatory in Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada, from where senior bird bander Josh Levac is about to join us. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning, Ray. It's great to be here.
Well, it's great to finally have you here after we are, technical problems have become kind of a specialty here on our show of late, but we've got you. So you're up on the northwestern shore of Lake Superior, the western edge of the eastern time zone there. Give us a little overview, if you would, and background about the observatory.
Yeah, so the observatory was first established in 2014 by John and Maureen Woodcock. And with that, it's a unique name for some bird banders. But with that, we've been banding here, a part of the Canadian Migration Monitoring Network for about 7 years. And we do spring and fall migration monitoring. So we really try to catch the birds that are coming from you guys in the south, all the way up north into their breeding grounds. And so it's a pretty great opportunity for us to really try to catch these birds and try to help monitor population growth, population decline, dispersal, migration, a lot of different aspects of what's potentially going on.
So I'm reading in the spring you have an average of 328 birds, banded 44 species. Much more in the fall, around 2,300 birds, 67 species. So this kind of gives an indicator of different seasonal migratory patterns, doesn't it?
It definitely does. What we typically find is in the spring, a lot of the birds really don't care about us. They have something else on their mind, and they kind of try to get up further north as quickly as possible. And sometimes we don't necessarily catch all of the birds that are coming around. In the fall, it's a really interesting habitat that we have, in that we find that we're more of not necessarily a funnel where a lot of banding stations are set up, but more of a staging ground. So a lot of birds come into our area, which we actually have a swamp, and we have a lot of mosquitoes, a lot of insects. And this is where the birds, we find that a lot of the juvenile birds, the birds that were born this year, kind of hatch, or not hatch, but they kind of stick around and get pretty fat before they have to actually migrate south. And so it's kind of an attractive feature, if you will. It's kind of like going to New York to visit some of the towers or things like that.
Right. Speaking of towers, you're putting up a chimney swift tower. Do I have that right?
We just finished our chimney swift tower this spring, and so we're still waiting on our first recipient, and or first person to come in, or first bird to come in. But yeah, we put up a chimney swift tower. We're really excited about it. We usually get them passing through in the spring, and in the fall we usually see them as well too. Right now, the only person that is, or the only animal that has actually taken a liking to it is one bat. And hey, we're not going to argue with the bat either. I think it's really great. But we're really hoping for those chimney swifts.
All right. And we had just mentioned earlier in the show this morning about in Kent, Ohio, they're doing a similar initiative too. So we'll have to check back with you and see how that works out. One thing I want to ask you, Josh, in these days with all the geolocators and satellite tracking and all that, is bird banding as relevant as ever? Just the same?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it really does provide us some very detailed what's going on in our populations with respects to population growth and decline. We can really get a very localized view of what's going on, where birds are going. Yes, you can get geolocators, but from my perspective, this is a very passive way of potentially catching the birds and seeing them up close without really having to add any additional overall weights. Granted, some of those geolocators are pretty much the weight of a dime now as well too, so they're pretty small and not that invasive as they once were.
Sure. So we have to cut this a little shorter than we planned, Josh, owing to those technical problems there. But I wanted to just get this in about if folks find a banded bird or see one, how they can report it.
Yeah, so if you find a banded bird, both the Canadian government and the U.S. government work jointly together to write bandit.gov ban.gov, and you can actually enter that into Google and find and enter the band number that you have, and you'll come up with the place, the location, the age, the sex of the bird, and everything that pretty much allows for you to understand where that bird came from. So you can totally find that out online.
All right. Well, especially since we're short-timed here, we'll make sure we get back to you in the fall, Josh, to see what's happening there, and also check with you on that chimney swift tower. And
love to hear.
And if you don't mind, if you don't mind my mentioning, you are also one of our Talkin' Birds ambassadors, and
I am one of the Talking Birds ambassadors.
You are our number 500, so you are extra special in that regard. Josh, thank you so much. Keep up that great work. We'll talk again soon, and you can find out more about the McKellar Island Bird Observatory at Facebook, facebook.com/McKellar. That's McKellar. McKellar Island Bird Observatory. Josh Levac joining us here, and coming up next, it's our Mystery Bird Contest in just 1 minute.
The flutter of a tail feather, the flash of a wing bar in mid-flight. You don't always have a lot of time to identify a bird in nature, let alone to appreciate its beauty. But with Vortex Optics, you'll have the power to bring every wild moment closer. When you choose Vortex, you're choosing to have a partner in the field as passionate about nature as you are. Whether you're spotting old friends on the backyard feeder or packing for a once-in-a-lifetime trip to add a few species to your life list, Vortex offers a full range of optics and optics accessories for every birder and every budget. And whether the birds are taking you to another state or another country, you're always covered by the Vortex VIP warranty, an unlimited lifetime promise to keep you and your optic covered. If you'd like to learn more, or if you need help choosing your next optic, give Vortex a call at 1-800-4VORTEX or visit vortexoptics.com.
A squeaky little sound, some say squeaky little wheel, is the sound of our mystery bird. Very small songbird with pale gray cheeks and white and black striping all over its head and body and a black eye line. Our bird, which winters in the tropics and breeds across Canada and most of the U.S. as far west as Montana, creeps along the branches and trunks of trees, probing with its thin bill for insects and spiders. That's our bird. The number is 781-837-4900, and the prizes are pretty nice here. A big bag of delicious, shade-grown, bird-friendly Birds and Beans coffee. And the cute chickadee feeder from Droll Yankees, perfect for sunflower seed, mixed seed, fruit, or mealworms. Even lets you manage the size of visiting birds with its height-adjustable dome. Pretty nice prizes there in our mystery bird. Here's a little extra musical cue. We probably don't need this, but a little extra musical cue for a mystery bird. All right, just a weird little extra musical cue. 781-837-4900 is the number on our Mystery Bird contest. Meanwhile, it's Let's Ask Mike, almost live from the archive in just 1 minute.
Beauty-O Books carries one of the largest selections of birding books in the world. New, used, and rare books covering everything from backyard birding to general ornithology. From field guides to photography skills, biography, fiction, and humor. You'll find it all, along with the knowledgeable customer service you've been looking for in one convenient place. BeautyOBooks.com. B-U-T-E-O. BeautyOBooks.com.
Hi, my name is Tama Watts, and I'm calling from San Marcos, California. I decided to become a Talkin Birds ambassador because I'm passionate about birds and I love the show. I really encourage listeners to become ambassadors because it's another opportunity to share your love and passion and appreciation for birds for Talkin Birds.
Talkin Birds listeners, we hope you'll join our ambassadors family at talkinbirds.com. Join today, and thanks.
Mike O'Connor is down there at the famous Birdwatchers General Store, Orleans, Cape Cod. Good morning, Mike. It says here you're going to talk about tree swallows. And you got a nice letter from a young man in Rhode Island. Is that right, about tree swallows?
Goodness, this is a very nice letter, handwritten letter from Ian in Jamestown, Rhode Island. And he writes, Dear Bird Folks, because that's my alternative name. And he said, there are tree swallows all over my state. Most times when I go for a walk, I see them. I would take tree swallows over any other bird. And then he wants to know why he sees so many. Clearly a fan of tree swallows, and who isn't? You've got them nesting in your radio station, and I've got them nesting in my yard. They're a fairly easy bird to attract. They have three advantages tree swallows seem to have over the other swallows. Number one, they get back here early. I saw tree swallows back in March. They can arrive early, and if the weather changes and gets cold and they can't get the flying insects that most swallows survive on, like purple martins, if they come back too early and the weather gets cold and there's no insects, they'll likely starve. But tree swallows can switch to vegetation. They'll eat berries, bayberries, so they have a plan B if they can't get the insects. So that helps them to prevent those die-offs that some of the other swallows can have to deal with. Also, they come readily to birdhouses. There's a lot of swallows. There's bank swallows, there's rough-winged swallows, there's barn swallows, but not many people have barns anymore. But you can put up a tree swallow box, which is just slightly larger than a bluebird box, a little bit bigger because swallows have longer wings, and they'll readily come if you have the right kind of habitat. And they come for white feathers. So if you know anybody who raises ducks or chickens and you can get some white feathers, you can put those out and they'll come for those. Also, beavers, believe it or not, are important to tree swallows. And back in the old days, we used to have that disgusting habit of taking animal skin and wearing it as a fashion. But now we don't do that so much. And the beavers are coming back, and the beaver dams create beaver ponds, and the beaver ponds are great for wildlife, except trees don't like it so much because when they flood an area, the trees die, but then the woodpeckers move into the dead trees, create holes, and then the tree swallows move into those holes. So between our nest boxes that we put up and their ability to eat alternative food sources, and thanks to the beavers, the tree swallows are actually doing well around here, especially in Massachusetts. Few areas are struggling a little bit, but on the whole, they're being a very successful species, and they're fun to watch. They're really kind of cool bird to watch.
Wow.
So there you go. So thanks for the letter, Ian.
Talk to you next week, Mike.
Sounds great.
Every Wednesday, Birdwatching Magazine sends an e-newsletter full of information of interest to birdwatchers, including recent news stories about birds, conservation, and science, photography tips, stories about places to go birding, bird ID tips, and much more. Best of all, the newsletter is free. Sign up today at birdwatchingdaily.com/newsletter.
We're back to the Mystery Bird Contest in the tiny bit of time we have remaining to identify our bird. And we go to Jen in Brockton, Massachusetts, City of Champions. Good morning, Jen.
Good morning.
Good morning. What do you think, Jen, on our mystery bird?
Is it a brown creeper?
A brown creeper. That is really a top quality guess there. Kind of sounds like it might be a brown creeper, except it's not brown, actually. But anyway, Jen, thank you so much. Try us again.
Thank you.
All right. Not a brown creeper. Zeke is in the great town of Marshfield, Massachusetts, which is very close to where we are here. Good morning, Zeke.
Hi, how are you, Ray?
Doing well, Zeke. Doing well, thank you. What do you think about our mystery bird there?
Is it a blackpoll warbler?
A blackpoll warbler. It is not, but since we are almost out of time, we're going to say it's close enough, because it's pretty close. It's actually a black and white warbler.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, climbing along those tree branches kind of like a nuthatch does. But anyway, yes, as we say, close enough for this morning's purposes.
Close enough, I still feel defeated.
You still feel, well, you'll feel better when those prizes arrive. All right, thank you, Zeke.
Thanks, Ray. Have a great day.
All right, you too. We are just about out of time this morning. Black and white warbler, in case you missed it. By the way, in our Talkin' Birds flock, Etienne Martin from Mesa, Arizona, has some great photos of a lesser goldfinch foraging the flowers in her backyard. Check it out at Facebook, Talkin' Birds flock. Next week, how neonicotinoids can kill bees. We'll talk with Sharon Selvaggio from the Xerces Society for Invertebrate Conservation about that. Thanks to our great Talkin' Birds team, I'm Ray Brown, and have a great week. We'll see you next week.
The Bird Show, I like that.
Ray Brown's Talkin' Birds.
Made possible by the generous support of the Birdwatchers General Store, Orleans, Cape Cod. Birdwatchersgeneralstore.com.
By Vortex Optics with the VIP warranty. Their unlimited lifetime promise to keep you and your optic covered. Learn more at vortexoptics.com.
And Beautyo Books, an independent family-owned bookstore carrying one of the largest selections of birding books in the world. BeautyBooks.com.
By LL Bean, inspiring you to get outdoors. LLbean.com. By Birds and Beans shade-grown bird-friendly coffee. Birdsandbeans.com.
And by Ocean State Bird Club. Springtime is every birder's favorite time of year. Join Ocean State Bird Club for new online talks and weekly virtual hangouts. And enjoy our quarterly newsletter with stories and photos about birds and birding. OceanStateBirdClub.org and on Facebook. Ocean State Bird Club.